Hi, this is the next episode of The Story Behind the Story. Today I'm going to tell you the story behind my book, The Random Acts of Cupid. This book is actually based on my own experience. It was inspired by my own experience. And unfortunately, it was a very embarrassing one. Like one that I have felt rather ashamed of for years. So the true story is that when I was in high school, my friends and I pulled practical jokes on each other on our birthdays. Most of them were really, really harmless. Some were quite embarrassing to the person. One year, my other friend and I decided to send flowers to our other friend for her birthday, but on the card we said that the flowers were from the boy she liked, and we thought that she would immediately know, because of course she would expect a practical joke, but she didn't. And before I could get to her to tell her what the truth was, she had thanked the guy who supposedly sent them, and he hadn't actually sent them. So I felt awful, and she wasn't happy, but good news is she forgave me, and we were still best friends, and she was my roommate in college. But I still felt horrible. I mean, and after that I never did another practical joke ever. It was just such a bad experience. And so that's lived in my memory for many years, and it kind of was the inspiration behind this book. My thought was, okay, that ended really badly. The guy wasn't upset, and, my friend got over it, but it still ended badly. But what if it hadn't? What if that mistake, that practical joke, had actually ended well? And so that was the inspiration behind this book, and you can read in the prologue that scene, but it has a different ending than the ending that was actually in reality, and it is the spark that is behind the whole premise of the rest of the book. The book is about a woman who likes to play matchmaker, but she does it completely randomly. So it's really a fun tale. She has this kind of a secret identity type thing that nobody knows about as an anonymous matchmaker, and then somebody finds out, and then he is not happy with her tactics, and she has to try to defend herself by taking him on some of her Cupid errands. So it is a super fun story. The other part of the story actually involves another mistake of mine. The main character's name is Elise Hutchins. A couple years after I wrote The Random Acts of Cupid, I was writing a different book, Out of the Blue Bouquet. And after I had it completely written, I realized I had named the character Brooke with the same last name as Elise Hutchins. And so at that point I was like, oh my goodness, I can't believe I did that. But then I thought, well, wait a minute, I can make this work. And so then The Random Acts of Cupid actually ended up being the inspiration behind Betwixt Two Hearts, because when I was going to write the Crossroads set, somebody asked me to do a Valentine's Crossroads set. And I thought at that point, oh, I have an idea for that. And so Elise does end up making an appearance in Betwixt Two Hearts, and so The Random Acts of Cupid ended up being a prequel to Betwixt Two Hearts. So all of that to say that what it really showed me is that, even the bad things in your life, the mistakes you made, the things you are ashamed of, that God has the power to turn those for good. In this instance, he used a mistake I made twice for two books. One of them was one that I still feel bad about, but it turned in as inspiration for a really beautiful book. And it's actually one of my niece's all-time favorite books. And then again, a mistake that I thought I had just screwed it up with the last name ended up becoming another amazing book in Betwixt Two Hearts. So if you haven't read The Random Acts of Cupid, you really should. It's not really like any other book. It's set in Seattle. It's super fun. All of the Cupid errands are really fun and romantic. So I would, and of course it has a great underlying message too. So if you haven't read it, pick it up.